I've always wanted to bang this gavel down, so yeah, first time for everything. Welcome to this year's AGM. So as part of our company law, there are responsibilities that there are certain items that we need to legally put to an AGM every year, and those are that are on the agenda today. Just to clarify, every student who has not opted out of membership can vote at our AGM, so you don't need to be an SU voting member to participate. Voting will be done via raising of hands, and for clarity, I'll be putting things to a vote as follows. All those for, followed by all those against, followed by any abstentions. Any questions before we start? I'll take that as no. So the first item is to ratify the trustees. As you can see from the list, we've got the trustees on the board. So do we have any questions? I'm taking that as no. All those in favour of ratification, can you please raise your hands?
Do we have
Do we have to raise
Yeah,
our
you can
hands?
raise your hands.
I don't know.
Just a point of information, you're only ratifying the external trustee, which is fined accordingly, and the two student trustees, because the sabbatical officers are elected, they're not appointed, so they shouldn't be on that slide. So you're only ratifying student trustees, and fined accordingly is one of our external trustees.
Right, so all those for ratification, can you please raise your hands again?
Do we have to raise our hands?
You can, yeah. Yeah, all those against ratification, can you please raise your hands? No. And any abstentions? Right, okie dokie. Take that as passed. Moving on, appointment of our auditors. So the second item is to reappoint the auditors, and our chief exec is just going to say a few words on that.
Okay. The auditors at the moment is we've had the same auditors for 5 years. So at the moment we're out to tender for the audit for next year. So the once we're out to tender and the tenders come back, they'll go to our Finance and Risk Committee, of which we have 2 members of Student Council on that, and they will approve the auditors, and then it will come back to the AGM next year.
Great. Any questions? No? Right, let's vote on this. All those for, can you raise your hands?
you want us to raise it?
Yeah, because you will check.
Could you just raise your hands so we can see a little
Yeah.
bit more?
Right. And then all those against, can you please raise your hands? No? And then any abstentions? Greato. I'll take that as passed. Moving on, the third item is to approve NUSU statutory accounts. Just to confirm, the accounts were circulated to all members for information, and our Director of Finance is just going to comment on these. Tony.
So our audited accounts have been signed off and approved by Finance and Risk Committee and Trustee Board earlier this month. The set of accounts are statutory requirements and they are fairly weighty documents, so I'll just draw your attention to some key highlights. If you've had a chance to look at them or if you're viewing them now, page 24 shows the consolidated SOFA or Statement of Financial Activities, and this details the income and expenditure and the year-on-year comparatives. If you look at the 2 end columns, they compare both total income and total expenditure for the previous year, and you can see that both elements have increased by similar levels in 23 on income and expenditure. Now this is partly due to increased activity within the year and also a return to some sort of normality following the pandemic years. Still within the SOFA statement, within the first column is the general fund, and this is where the impact of any surplus or deficit is reflected. So 22-23 was a tight and turbulent year, especially in relation to staffing costs, and also including a historic issue regarding employer pension contributions. And we finished the year with a consolidated deficit of £75,000. 48,000 of that was in charity, and 27 was in our trading company, which runs the co-op. And this is demonstrated by the movement on the general fund balance, which is shown towards the bottom of the page, if you can see. say it moves from 353
278.
to 278 carry forward. Moving on to page 25, which is the consolidated balance sheet. And three key highlights to note on here. Under fixed assets, you see that we no longer hold any investments. These were sold earlier in the year due to some issues accessing the account. And there's a full detail which is on note 9 within page 39. So all we have now is cash in the bank across a number of notice and deposit accounts. Still on the same page, moving down to current assets. There's been an increase on the bank balance in the year, and that mostly relates to the early receipt of the first payment of the block grant from the university. So obviously our financial year runs from August to July, and we received the first payment for the 23-24 financial year in July 23. And that's £369,000 within that figure that's reported. This early repayment also accounts for most of the change between the current liabilities figure, as we must defer that receipt to the year and release it and recognise it within the year that it relates to, i.e. 23-24. And the last main highlight on this page is to note that the movement on the creditors falling due within 1 year has dropped from 360,000 to 207,000, and this represents the loan that we had from the university in relation to the Central Public Cooperative. Page 26 is the charity balance sheet, so in essence just stripping out the trading subsidiary figures. Page 27 is the consolidated cash flow statement, and this figure on the consolidated balance sheet. And then the rest of the document, pages 28 to 45, are the associated notes that go with the three main statements.
Great. Any questions for Tony regarding the finances? I'm going to take that as no. So we'll just go to a vote on this to approve the finance report. All those for, please raise your hand. Right. And all those against, please raise your hand. Okay. And any abstentions? Okay, thank you. We'll take that as passed. Moving on, the next thing is to receive the impact report and overview from the chair. So item 4 was the impact report, which was an overview of the impact report and achievements from last year. The impact report was also circulated to all members and is also available on the website if anyone wants to have a look at it again. This year we're also going to show a short video to some of the achievements of last year. The year 2022 to 2023 saw the launch and beginning of our 2022 to 2026 strategic plan, enabling a renewed focus based upon feedback from our students, the team of officers and staff at NUSU, working tirelessly towards our ambition of having a positive impact on every student at Newcastle University, with much success to celebrate. Our annual survey results have been positive, with overall satisfaction with NUSU at 97%, and 89% of students agreeing that we have had a positive impact on their university experience. This year, our engagement levels and opportunities recovered in most areas to pre-COVID levels, and participation levels in our Give It A Go programme exceeded all expectations. Our sports teams excelled to win varsity for the second year running and finished a magnificent 10th in the books rankings. Our volunteering offer continues on the trajectory of growth, development and diversification, with over 2,000 students involved. We analysed participation levels in the SU, and we are pleased to have engaged with 55% of Newcastle students, and this is something we are continuing to build. In our strategic review, students told us that emotional and wellbeing support was their top priority, and we were keen to respond to this with the launch of our new Support and Advice Hub for 2022 to 2023, which was the first year of the new centre and its offering, and we're delighted with the initial success. with 97% of students satisfied with our approach to well-being and 97% of service users satisfied with the services they received. However, this year has also been challenging for our students, our staff, and the wider community, with the cost of living crisis affecting what we do, how we do it, and focusing our attentions. Despite the challenges we faced, the organisation enjoyed many successes, and we hope the following video summarises them. Cue the video.
To the top there, will it? Thank you.
We're lobbying for increased hardship funding
To cover the crisis.
and making sure that we can support students who are working part-time during their studies.
Sex positivity is for everybody. It's about being accepting of different experiences beyond your own and respecting each other.
In a personal capacity, you are going to grow so much if you choose to step into this role. We are so excited to announce the launch of our new support and advice hub, which is located on the ground floor of the Students' Union building.
It's now time for you to appreciate someone that has gone above and beyond for you during your time at Newcastle by nominating them for one of our 9 teams categories.
The nominations for our Celebrating Success Awards have officially opened.
Rightos. Is there any questions on the impact report? I'm going to take that as a no. Righto, moving to a vote. All those in favour of approving the impact report, please can you raise your hands? Right. All those against approving the impact report, can you please raise your hands? And all those abstaining, can you please raise your hands? Thank you. I'll take that as passed. Next is consideration and approval of constitutional amendments over the past 12 months. So a summary of constitutional amendments for the last academic year were included on the website, all related to strategy and guidance documents. All were passed at Student Union Council. Can we take a vote to approve? All those in favour of approving, please raise your hand. And all those against, can you please raise your hand? And then any abstentions? Two. Three. Right, we'll take that as passed. So next thing is the notification of affiliations. So as you may already know, we have rules on how we choose to affiliate, and in the case of NUS affiliation, in accordance with our own constitution, this goes to an all-student cross-campus referendum. The last referendum was held in March 2022, and students voted to affiliate. This affiliation remains in place until the next referendum is held, which is next year. Thank you for your time. That's the end of AGM, and we will now have a 5-minute break before SU Council starts.
That's a lot of effort. Since the bit took 20 minutes. At least for a minute. M-I-N-U-T-E. Have you got some trouble?
Not on
Yeah.
I get to come sit here.
Yes, thank you. Do you mind setting up the mic stand? Yeah, thank you.
That's exactly what I'm getting all this stuff, and then we can rub it in hard space later. Not told us I found out water. I didn't realise it. I was going to get water is nice and tender.
Yeah, a little bit.
That'd be fine, I drink black coffee.
Your Fender one. Yeah, the only,
We have so many extra hours.
the only jack.
You need to nominate Robbie for a team. Ashton, that one the other day, she's been asking me to do it. I'm like, I'm not nominating for shit. She was like, which tea are you nominating for? And I was like, so presumptuous that you are. No, she was like, are you going to nominate him for? And I was like, I guess, like I might. And she was like,
Yeah. We just don't need
I love the sample and the stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
Watch back to bottom. Yeah, every time you have to go
I mean, we can just get the football back to it next time. Well, yeah.
it's like a royalty-free background. I don't know what the watch Oh, I'm so hungry.
That's a mind. Would you mind doing it?
Yeah.
When you say this, it's about
I just leave it there for now. Yeah. Last time doing this. Because I did the voting place, so I can do whatever.
You fucking back there. That was fucking 5 minutes.
So back.
Hi everyone, can I just ask people to start taking their seats? We're going to get started in about a minute. Thank you.
Sure. Depends on
That's actually... Sam. Here.
Hey everyone, can you take a seat? We're going to make a start. Okay, hello everyone, welcome to Council. I'm George, I'm the chair. I'm going to go through a few bits and bobs about how Council works, just for anyone who hasn't been before. We're going to go over some housekeeping, a little bit of a couple of statements to read out, and then we'll get started. So, as I said, I'm George, I'm the chair of Council. NUSU Council is the sort of pinnacle of student voice at NUSU. It's where average, everyday students can come and have their voices heard, and to hold their officers and representatives to account. Council is a slightly sort of formal environment, so if you want to speak, I would ask that you put up your hand and you don't shout out. I would also ask that you try and speak through me and don't talk directly to each other. That can get a bit messy. If at any point anyone has any questions about how stuff works, if you just want to contribute but you don't know how, anything like that, you can raise your hand and ask for a point of information or a point of order or anything like that, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Can I just check at this point, everybody who thinks they should have a voting place has been given the voting details. If you haven't had the voting details, it should have been emailed to you. Can you put your hand up? this only applies to people who have got a vote at council. Okay. There's so everyone who, so have you guys all got voting places but you haven't got the voting details? Okay. Could I possibly ask you to come up to the front and see Anita? Do you have the details there? Yeah. Okay. If you just come up to the front, we'll get those sorted for you. It's really. My apologies, guys. The voting details are on the board there for you if you don't have them. Just to know, the voting is only for people who have registered places to vote. If you do not have one, please don't cast votes. We do check the list of names to make sure that everyone who is able to vote has voted properly. Okay, everybody, while that will stay on the board for a minute, just while we're doing that. While that is being sorted, I'm just going to read out a few little bits here. Can I just ask for some quiet, please? Guys, can I have some quiet, please? Thank you. Okay, so I've been asked to read out a statement of respect on behalf of the organisation. I'm going to read this verbatim as it was given to me. So, welcome to Student Council. This is a safe space for all students to discuss the matters which are important to them. Today we have some motions about Israel and Palestine that will be emotional and potentially challenging for many of us. We need to be able to approach these discussions, as we do with all motions brought to Council, with respect for one another. At NUSU, we believe in freedom of speech and the right for all students to express their views. However, we will not tolerate any unlawful hate speech or discrimination of any kind. We have provided you with guidelines to clarify the definition of unlawful speech. These can be found on your seats. Please take a moment to review these before we begin the substantive part of Council. We always ask that you treat your fellow students, colleagues and staff with respect. As Chair, it's my duty to ensure discussions remain civilised and orderly. Therefore, I will stop any speaker who I believe is not following the guidance. Council has a 2-hour guillotine as outlined in the standing orders, which means this council must finish by 18:30. However, in recognition of Ramadan, I will aim to bring business to a close by 18:10 in order to facilitate students breaking their fast. To keep to this time frame, I may have to interrupt speakers if they exceed that allocated time. I will make clear how much time people have to speak before they start speaking. And I would therefore ask that all speakers please respect when I ask people to do that. I also want to make clear that my job as chair is not to have opinions or share my opinions about any particular motions. My job is simply to make sure that the guidance here is followed, so I'm trying my best to do that. If you disagree with something that I decide, please raise your hand and ask for a point of order. I will be happy to clarify things. Are there any questions about anything I've just said before we get started? No, lovely. Okay. Throughout Council, if you do have any questions about how things should work, if you're confused about something, if you think something was maybe not as it should have been, feel free to raise your hand and I will get to you and we can talk about that. And then just finally, I've been asked to read this about Ramadan. So to make council as inclusive as possible, we have decided to delay the arrival of pizza due to this being the month of Ramadan and many students are currently fasting. The pizza will arrive around 6 p.m. To line with the breaking of the fast, taking place at 6:10. We will also be providing dates as well for those who wish to break their fast with dates. Everyone, regardless of whether you're fasting or not, is more than welcome to join us. We have also booked out the Lindisfarne room between 6 and 6:40 for those who would like to pray. That room is only booked until 6:40, so there is a strict deadline on that. Okay, that's everything I've got to read out. Any questions at this point? Okay, lovely. I will also just make clear before we get to that section that there is, as this is a end of term council, there will be a section for questions and mandates for liberation officers and chairs, of which I am one. At that point, I will hand off the chair to Lulu just for that section, so I can take questions if there are any. Okay, lovely. So we now move on to minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any corrections to be raised? These are factual corrections about the content of the meeting, not about the decisions made there. Please raise your hand if you have a correction. Yes, could you stand?
that the ICJ considered what's happening in Gaza as a plausible genocide, while in the meeting minutes it's written as possible genocide.
Okay, thank you. Is that noted? Lovely. Okay, are there any other corrections to be made? Wonderful. Okay, so those minutes are passed. We now move on to the steering committee report. Trag? So I'm going to invite Trag to deliver this report orally, which has been requested.
If you can't hear me, please just shout so I can speak into the mic. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chirag Kumar, and I am the co-chair of steering committee. For information, the steering committee is...
Trag, do you just want to use my one? I don't think that one's coming through.
Hello? No?
Can everyone hear? No. Use my one.
So for information, steering committee is empowered to ensure that motions are factually correct and appropriate in nature. I am now here to provide a verbal update on the steering committee report, as I'm aware that there were 2 motions that were submitted to this council, one of which has come now in a very different form compared to when it was submitted, and the other one was unable to be presented in this council. And I would just like to take this opportunity to explain our decision with regards to the motion. So the first one is motion 403 to lobby Newcastle University to ensure that the university does not engage in any research activities that could be used to harm human life, developing arms which are not to be used for a defensive purpose well within the military sector so long as it is legal to do so. And the second one was motion 404, replacing the IHRA definition. Now, these 2 motions were sensitive in nature and could potentially have been legally challenging to your students' union. After receiving legal advice, this legal advice and the original motion was shared to steering committee. Steering committee agreed that both motions required significant work and rewording to be council ready. This was then shared with the proposer, and then as the co-chair of steering committee myself, I met with the proposer. Just to say this, steering committee were happy to approve the motion via email if the changes to the motion were made by a specified deadline to ensure that our constitutionally mandated deadline for sending out papers were in line. So the proposer made the changes to motion 403 that steering was happy to approve and wouldn't require any work before the deadline. Unfortunately, motion 404 would have required work from steering and the proposer for it to be council ready, but just prefacing this saying that motion 4.4 is ready for submission to the next steering meeting as it currently stands. Further discussions regarding the adjustments can take place with the proposer with the aim of getting it finalized for next steering council. Yeah, that's that for me.
Is that everything? Right, perfect, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Nope. I'm not having much luck with the microphones today.
Do I keep this one?
I'm not coming through now. 1 second. We're not having a lot of luck with the technology. My lovely student media people, my mic is not working now. Could I have a mic, please? Hello? Oh, magic. Okay. Yeah, are there any questions? And just to be absolutely clear, this is about the report itself, the steering committee report. Questions about the actual motions involved will be for a later part of council. Yes, yourself. Do you want to stand up and can someone bring a mic through? Lovely.
Hello. Okay, there we go. So. Can you hear me now? Right. Okay. So I'll just keep going. I'll try to be as loud as I can. So the amendments were made on the day. We were given less than an hour to amend. Was there any wellbeing support offered for students that were fasting and were passing an incredibly vulnerable motion? Oh, sorry. Extremely vulnerable students passing an incredibly important motion. There we go.
Simple answer, I think we could have done more. I'm not
I asked if there was any wellbeing support offered for the students after the motion was passed, or after the motion was approved by steering. Was there any wellbeing support offered?
After it was
After you gave less than 2 hours to the students to amend the motion, students who are fasting, students participating in the holy month of Ramadan in which every minute counts, I asked, did you offer any wellbeing support after putting them in this very difficult position? It's a yes or no question. The answer's no, I'm guessing. That's all right.
I wouldn't be able to exactly say it because I just helped as much as I could.
Um,
You guys have seen it.
I mean, you guys know about the inners and the innings of the student union. I'm asking, was the wellbeing support offered for these students?
Yeah, nothing other than what we already have.
So there was no active initiative taken by the student union after distressing the students and placing them in that predicament. Is that correct?
With regards to getting the motion.
Yes.
As soon as possible
Students that
to
were
council.
fasting, vulnerable students affected by an ongoing plausible genocide, students passing a motion in regards to that. They were not taken seriously in the sense there was no initiative taken from the student union in regards to that. Is that correct? It's a yes or no question.
Would you like to answer this? Yeah.
We'll just, Lindsay can come and just clarify on that one.
Are you okay for me to answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, for those that don't know me, I'm the Chief Exec, so I don't speak at Council. Quick answer, we didn't put anything extra in place. It would just be the usual means by we've got our Wellbeing and Support Centre and our Advice Centre, and your point is very valid and something we'd not considered. And I apologise, and it's something we would do in future.
Perfect, because it was mentioned in the Ukraine statement that the university alongside NUSU would take initiative to reach out to students affected. So I'm seeing that after putting the students in distressing situations, we were not offered that support. We were not taken, there was no initiative taken towards a student. Is that correct?
With regards to the motions?
Yes, students
As far
given
as I know,
given an hour
not
to
necessarily.
change it, students that were fasting and put in a vulnerable position.
Just the usual that we would do through steering as well.
It was a motion about a plausible genocide. It's not a usual motion. Again, it's a yes or no question, and I think the
And
answer
I've
is no.
answered is no.
It's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool, lovely.
Thank you, Liz.
Can we just be a little bit careful about repeating the same question again and again? Does anyone have another question? Okay. Oh, yeah, Louis.
How do you think it looks? How do you think it looks? Someone proposing something with a deadline that you set. How do you think it looks? Someone rushing to have something in by the deadline, and then you, not even 1 day, not even 1 hour, literally giving me an hour to amend 2 motions. I don't think that looks very democratic. If you need more time to get reliable legal advice, then I suggest you look at the deadline for submitting motions to council. I don't understand why it's such a battle to get any of you to have any humanity when there's a plausible genocide going on. We're not asking for much. We're asking for a motion to be put in place for you to lobby the university to stop. We're very aware that it's not you guys investing in arms researchers, but what we are very aware is that you guys are happy to put any obstacle in place that you like. It's seen loud and clear, and I'm done with hearing from all of you. I think we're all done with hearing that you want to facilitate our voices, because you've made it loud and clear that you don't. How else can it be taken? How else can it be taken than a suppression of pro-Palestinian voices on campus when we are given an hour to 2 hours to amend 2 motions?
Could I just offer a point of information here that quite rightly what you said about the motions deadline, that has been adjusted for next council, so that was an announcement for later, but I'll make it now. That the motions deadline for the next council will be the 19th of April to allow for that legal advice to have a decent amount of time. We've never had a situation like this before, which I think is why that wasn't in place already. So I'll say a bit more about the deadline at the end of council. And then, yeah, so I don't know if you want to answer something about that, Chirag.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not going to say all our processes are really fast and quick, but we're really trying to do whatever we can. And again, as you have noticed, I did my best. You know this.
If that's your best, I don't know how you've stayed in the job that long. I'll be real.
To be quite clear, the deadlines are set in the Constitution. That is not an individual officer's fault. Any further questions? Yeah, yourself at the front. Sorry, in the back. I'd rather get around new speakers before we go repeating, please.
Yeah, so seeing the failings of the internal bureaucracy of NUSU on display here, do you still believe that going through the Students' Union is an effective way to make any change at all?
It definitely is.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to limit that to questions about the steering committee report only. So the questions do have to be about. Sorry, guys. The questions do have to be about the steering committee report. If you'd like to ask specific sort of individual questions like that, it would be better placed at the questions and mandates section, which is to come up. So any questions specifically about the report itself? Yes, yourself?
Yeah, could we have some more clarity on why the IRHA definition motion wasn't put through after amendments were made?
If you'd like the specific reason why and how the motion was, then I did send it to Louis, but of course I can always forward it to you.
Do you think that amendments that were proposed, I don't think this is on, I can't lie. Oh, okay. Do you think that the amendments that were proposed would have taken longer than 10 minutes to change that have now been moved to May?
In that time, I had to also get all of these documents to the relevant person and then also get that. In that same time, I was also working with Louis to get the other one work done as well. So if you're asking me if I could do things with 5 different computers, probably the answer is I'm not that great yet.
I mean, that's not what I'm asking. The question was that the amendments that were made, or the amendments that were proposed to the IRHA definition motion, would they have taken 2 months to go through, or would it have been a less than 10-minute change?
Could you say that? Do you mean after taking the legal advice?
Yes, after legal advice, after the motion was amended and returned.
So we did meet with a proposer, and during that period, what we understood was that we would be working on one of the motion and not both.
Was that the decision that you made?
It was not the decision that I made.
Who made that decision?
The proposer was of the mind that we would be working on one motion. Yes.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to bring this order of business to an end. If you have further questions for Chirag, they can be submitted in writing after council. We've got to keep things moving or we won't get through all the business. Thank you, Chirag. I've just been told that we have 11 unfilled voting places from people who have applied and not turned up. So if anybody who doesn't have a vote would like one, please feel free to come to the front now and you can be given a vote. So if you just go and see Anita. people need... Excuse me, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. If we could just have a bit of quiet. So if anyone needs any refreshments or anything like that, we're just going to be starting again in about 2 minutes. So just make sure you're all ready to go at that point. Gavel's a lot louder on this table. Is everything okay? I appreciate the non-contention, but that's noted. Yes. I mean, they should be. Updates on things that you're mandated for should be given by yes, in the State of the Union.
Especially like yeah, but back
Really, they should be. Really, it should be yes, but yeah, it should be yes that does that during the State of the Union. Hi everyone, we're going to make a start. Can I have some quiet, please? Thank you. Okay, lovely. So just to complete the business from before that little break, because I forgot to do it. Were there any objections before council to the steering committee report? Laura or Anita? No objections? No? So no objection was received to that, so that does pass. Scrutiny Committee and Disciplinary Committee report, I believe, has been distributed today. So there were no objections received before council to that, so that passes as well. And I will now invite Yassine to deliver the State of the Union report. Yassine, if I could ask you to try and confine yourself to about 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along to council. So I'll just give you a quick briefing on, for those of you who are new here, to what the State of the Union is. The State of the Union is updates from the elected representatives on the key highlights of what NUSU has been doing since last council. I just want to start off with addressing an update on the Leonardo situation from last council. Following last council, concerns were raised from students about possible ties between the university and Leonardo. The sabbatical team met with the senior university leadership team to pass these concerns on, and then we met with the university to push them to provide more transparency and affiliation on their potential affiliation with Leonardo. They basically assured us that they're not investing in Leonardo at the time, and they also released a statement after we pushed them to clarify the whole situation about that. Our priority is to ensure that our campus remains safe for everyone. There is no place for racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, abuse, incitement or harassment of any kind. And then we've also got a lot of support available both on the university and the Students' Union. That includes the Find Your Support webpage on the university's webpage, as well as emergency support that you can access, which I can provide details to as well. And then in terms of the support, we have the union, we've got our welfare support centre, which is just located adjacent to the NUSU reception, and you can drop in at any time, and it's basically just informal appointments. You can come in and speak if you need any support, and we've also got our student advice centre as well, which is there to support students should they need it. So moving on to officer updates, first of all, I'd just like to start off with congratulating the new officer team for 2024 to 2025. in terms of the key things I've been working on, I've been organising the community fast with a range of society, so that's due to take place on the 20th of March between 5 to 7 p.m.ish. I'm also currently working on a few papers to submit to the Student Disbursement Fund around extending £1 meals to cover evening provision and to try and see if we can launch a soup basket available for students in the Marjorie Robertson Library, and also paper to secure funding for a landlord as well. In terms of what Sherrick's been up to, he's led the PG Student Voice Forum, the PG Supervisor Development Group, and participated in the PGR subcommittee along with other student reps and Senate. He's also led social events such as PG Coffee Mornings in NUSU and the Business School, and is working on pages for PGR Community Society. Lily's been working on a student pantry, looking to the idea of a student pantry on the Helix campus, has also been looking to speak with international students on the Helix campus and inter-students to see how we can improve the sense of belonging, and is currently working on the access and participation plan that's going to be submitted to the Office for Students. Lucy has been working on in-person student facilitated active bystander and consent trainings. She's been working to push and lobby for that, so after a lot of lobbying and obviously the work processes as well, there will be in-person student facilitated active bystander and consent training, and then that's also followed after continuous discussions with the Change in the Culture Steering Group, and they're just currently discussing how the training will be presented. She's also been working with the Your Voice team to host a student summit, which gives a group of students the opportunity to present ideas to senior leaders in the university to explore situations and to start conversations on how we can collaboratively improve the student experience. And she's also met with the Police and Crime Commissioner, Kim McGuinness, to talk about women's safety in the nighttime economy. Kimiko has been supporting handovers in societies and sports clubs, and she's also been looking at helping to organise varsity as well. Alex has been helping to plan the community iftar for next week and is organising other festival of culture events, including events for Holi and Cinco de Mayo, and is also planning the Society Awards, Pride Awards, and the Grand Sum Awards. Gabby's been part of this election planning group, helping to shape this year's NUSU elections by creating the candidate spotlights, just so that provides a chance for students to ask candidates questions and help them to inform them on who they would like to vote for.
30 seconds, Yassine.
Thank you. She's also begun purchasing items for the NSR studio reboot, so a new sound desk has been purchased and she'll be acquiring music to add to that library soon. And she's also hired and trained 5 new members of the editorial team and recruited 2 podcasting assistants. That's it, thank you.
Lovely. If I just get you to stay there for a second. Are there any questions about the State of the Union report? And to be clear, this is only questions about the report that has just been delivered. Further questions to Yassine can be delivered in the next section. Yes.
Lulu's currently working as Education Officer on a sense of belonging presentation to ensure that all students, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their experiences, feel welcome to the university, feel part of the university community, and she's going to be presenting that to University Council presentation on that.
Great. And that'll be tailored to those affected by the ongoing genocide, I assume, right? Amazing.
Okay, lovely. Any further questions about the State of the Union report? Lovely. Okay. Thank you. In fact, you can stay there, Yassine. So I'll now invite the sabbatical officers to join Yassine. If you could just say a couple of words, introduce yourself, and then we'll take some questions. So do try and speak into the mic when you speak, just so it comes up on the recording. That would be great. Yeah, I don't know if you want to just bunch up. That's fine. Okay. So again, just to be absolutely crystal clear, Questions in this section must relate to the work and responsibilities of the respective officer, which can include work relating to the executive committees that they may chair. So if one at a time you could just introduce yourselves and then say what your role is, and we'll take some questions.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm the Welfare and Equality Officer.
Oops. Sorry, I've just been told the microphone there isn't picking up. Are you guys at the back? Can you do some wizardry?
Now it is.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the Activities Officer.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm Student Media Officer. Sorry about the mics.
Yeah, just one at a time.
Hi, I'm Chirag. I'm the Postgraduate Officer.
Hi, I'm Kimiko. I'm the Union Officer.
Hi, I'm Lulu. I'm Education Officer.
Okay, lovely. So just as a note, as per the standing orders, I'm going to have to make sure that we're fielding questions from different people, so I'm going to avoid taking follow-up questions until we've got around everyone, and I'm going to have to ask that we please just ask one question, it gets an answer, and we'll move on. So can you please raise your hand if you have a question for any of the sabbatical officers? Yes, can we get a mic, please?
So, in the statement published by the university, signed off by all of yourselves as well, you describe the ongoing plausible genocide in Gaza as ongoing events in the Middle East. To give you some statistics, by this time, 10,569 people were killed. This is 0.46% of the population. If we are comparing it to Ukraine, by the time the university had released its statement, 752 people had died, which is 0.0019% of the population. If we were to do some quick maths, that's 242 times more percentage population of people killed in Gaza. I ask, is that terminology correct to describe a plausible genocide as ongoing events? And this is for Yassine.
Cool, thank you. I forgot to say at the beginning, I'm limiting questions and answers to a minute each, so I'm just going to, obviously with a tiny bit of leeway, but just so we can get through this, okay? Yassine.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we've been pushing the university to release a statement, and we've been lobbying them consistently.
First, they would tell you if he actually came.
He would. We've invited him to.
If I were to quickly interject, our meeting got reallocated and it was still addressed as events in the Middle East, so I don't think he will be changing it anytime soon. But continue.
But obviously, we will continue to try and push for recognition of that. That it's obviously a lot of people have unfortunately suffered during the conflict, and we will be taking that feedback back to the university.
Thank you, Yassine. Can we, so any further questions? I'm sorry, I'm not accepting follow-ups.
Okay,
that's a point of information. On the university statement, we didn't sign off on it. Yes, we are one of you first.
Right, so can we have hands up, please? Please put your hand right up if you have a question. Any more questions for the sabbatical team? Yeah, yourself behind Louis there.
This is just a follow-up to the previous question. I didn't really think that it was answered at all. The question was more about calling it an event and a conflict and not a genocide. So could you answer that part specifically, please? Thank you.
Just to check, was that question for Yassine? Yes, okay. Feel free, Yassine.
Like I say, we'll continue to lobby the university to recognise the seriousness of the actions occurring there. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. If you've got a point of information, you can give a point of information. Do you want to give a point of information?
Can I add to this? Got it handed to me. Okay, so when we met with Chris and the rest of the executive board, and we were asking them the same questions, why aren't you addressing it properly, giving transparency, things like that. The answer that we received in terms of the comparison to Ukraine was because the government took a stance, the university themselves felt more comfortable to take a stance, and therefore they're erring on the side of caution because of laws and things. I completely understand where you're coming from, that you would like them to call it what it is. I addressed that in that meeting, and it was kind of rebuffed. So we are trying our best, as Yassine said, to bring it up, and I'm really, really sorry that it's still taking so long, but that's the best answer I can give you from what I understand, if that's okay.
Lovely, thank you. Any further questions for the statistical team? Yes. Can we get a microphone here, please?
Great. I suppose that this is going to Yassine directly, but this is also to each member of the sabbatical officers. Do you acknowledge that what is happening in Gaza right now is a genocide? It's a simple yes or no question, and all I expect is a yes or a no. Thank you.
I don't know if maybe it's appropriate that Yassine answers on behalf of the sabbatical team, or I don't know who wants to answer that.
Could I invite our CEO to answer this question, please?
Lindsay is welcome to give a point of information, but
as you know, it's extremely difficult for the officers to answer, and I don't actually know legally. I am so sorry. I think the UN has said it's a plausible genocide, and I think that the officers will probably acknowledge that on their behalf. I don't have a political stance. I'm an operational person, so stood here I don't. Whether I do personally, that's a different matter. I think the officers would be able to, if they were willing to, say they follow the guidance of UN that this is a plausible genocide, but really from charity law point of view, it's an extremely difficult position to be in. I don't expect the student body, especially those that are so deeply affected by this, to know the ins and outs of that. I understand, of course I don't, but that's why we took legal advice on that motion, because we're treading an extremely difficult line right now, and the officers are doing their absolute best to tread that the best they can while being guidance and having a lot of pressure from all areas, including our students from different backgrounds, university, staff members, me, lawyers, trustees and everything. So I do understand why asking that question, expect that question, but they really can't answer that without really putting themselves at risk as trustees with the charity law, and I apologise for that. Sorry, it's not the best answer. I don't have it better than that.
Okay, I'm gonna this section is a 10-minute time limit, so I'm gonna take 2 more questions limited to the time that I outlined before. So can you have your hand right up, please? Okay, so both of you two at the back there, and then we'll move on.
I think what we are witnessing right now is that the union claims that it's independent from the university, while it doesn't seem to have any agency to give any kind of opinion, like without going back to the university or going back to legal advisors who to protect the university actually, while students been protesting for weeks now, and we don't see that recognized.
I'd like to invite Lindsay onto the stage here.
Okay, if you'll forgive me for answering on behalf of the officers. I completely get that. We are independent from the university. They are our main funder. We can't deny that. My job, more than the officers, is to try and help that relationship they represent against them. Most of the difficulty about statements is not actually about the university. It's about the fact that students' unions back in 2008 became charities, which is an absolute pain in the neck for activism. It, in many ways, silenced the officers because it made them trustees, and that is something we are grappling with in the sector right now more than ever, and it's really, really difficult. So it's charity law that is the problem, actually, not necessarily the university for us putting statements, and that's what council is for. And I know how difficult it's been to get your motions there. I completely appreciate that, and that's why I'm really pleased to see the motion coming to call for a ceasefire, because that mandates our officers, and that really, really helps them. And the way that motion is worded gets us to a point where they can go forward with that statement, but that's kind of been checked against all of the guidance and the law that we can access in order to get there. So that's what council is for, and I appreciate how difficult it's been to get to your motions. I certainly played a huge part in us getting that legal advice, because without that legal advice it would have just been steered out, and certainly historically, knowing what happens in students' unions, including our own, it just gets steered out. Getting legal advice, whether you believe it or not, was an attempt to be able to get it to council without having that risk, and it just being steered out and saying that just breaks laws. So
Thank you.
That's what council's for. I
cheers.
probably waffled a bit much there. Sorry,
That's
George.
okay. Okay, it was just yourself at the back, and then we'll have to move on. As I mentioned before, though, any further questions are you're more than welcome to submit in writing to the officers, and they'll get back to you. So yourself at the back, and then we'll move on.
So David Cameron, the Foreign Secretary, has seen the evidence of the flower massacre, of Palestinians being stripped and blindfolded, of recently on the BBC medical staff being tortured, and he himself has stated that this is disturbing. Have you guys made any comment like this or anything, even a synonym like this, anything at all? And should we believe that you guys have the backbone to take action based on your hearts and minds aligning with the students, or should we believe, like the CEO has mentioned about the charity law and things like that, that instead the backbone to take action relies on who is dictating you instead of us?
Sorry, just to check, did you have that question for a specific officer? No. Would anyone like to come forward on that?
I think that all the officers would agree that what is going on is disturbing, is terrifying, it's terrible to witness, and it's even more terrible for the people who are experiencing, for them to experience. And this is not believable in any way, because obviously nobody understands how things work, and we don't like the law, but trustee law stops us from saying many things, because then there's legal action taken against us. As far as we can say, I think what we can do is recognize that this is a terrifying situation for everyone to be going through, and to be seeing and hearing about it, and to be knowing that like their family and friends are going through that. And we're here to support students, and we're here, like, we have our welfare resources. We're free to help talk to you and help steer you in any way you need support. We're here to second your motions. If you want to put through any motions that can be passed through council, we're here to help you edit the motion so that they can be passed through council. We've tried our best to get legal advice and lobby the university
Last couple of seconds,
for
please,
them
Alex.
to release a statement if they can, to say things about this. If Chris Day was here as we'd invited him, he would tell you how many times we've sat in a room with him and begged and asked for the university to say anything in a press release. I don't know if anyone in the university is watching it, but unfortunately,
Alex,
we
I'm
wouldn't be
sorry,
allowed to do it
that's the
ourselves.
time you got. Thank you. Right. Thank you, guys. So as I said, any further questions, please do submit those in writing to the officers, and they can get back to you. Okay, so you guys are welcome to sit down. Thank you very, very much. Okay. So the next section of council, as I mentioned at the start, is questions and mandates for liberation officers and NUSU chairs, which includes me. So at this point, I'm going to relinquish the chair, and I'm going to hand it off to Lulu to look after it for a couple of minutes while we do this section. So it'll work exactly the same way as just happened, but with Lulu. So all of the chairs and liberation officers, do you want to come to the front?
So at beginning, please you introduce yourself.
So hi everyone, I'm George, I'm the chair of council.
Hi, I'm Louis. I'm the chair of scrutiny and disciplinary.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan Lee. I'm the ethnic diversity officer.
So next part is anyone have a question for this liberation officer and chair? No?
Can I ask George one question?
Yeah, please.
So, George, at the end of your December report, you said that you hope something that you hope to improve is to work with the marketing team for the student councils, to promote the student councils. What has been done on that?
Sorry, was that my last end of term report?
Yes.
Yes. So we did the photo shoots, we got the tablecloths and all of that, but I'm a busy PhD student. I don't have all the time in the world, and I've split my time 50-50 between London and Newcastle. The harsh fact of it is the marketing team, the person in the marketing team I have a contact with works for 2 days in the office a week, and we just haven't had time to meet up. So what we I've participated in the usual business of steering, which helps to pick out the motions to be submitted to council. But the fact of it is, unfortunately, I haven't had time to meet with the person from marketing this term.
Okay. Anyone have any question? No? So thank you everyone, you can have a seat.
Okay, thank you, Lulu, for taking the chair so valiantly. Okay, so we'll go just through a little bit of business here about the reports, and then we'll get onto the motions, which should be the majority of the remainder of council. So the officer reports the officer reports and executive committee minutes. Have we received any objections to those? No. So those are all passed as a block. The sabbatical officer end of term reports. Any objections to those? No. Okay, so those are passed as a block. And finally, liberation officer and NUSU chairs end of term reports. No objections. Lovely. So those all pass as a block. Lovely. So that brings us to the motions. So we have 3 constitutional motions and 3 ordinary motions. What I will do, as usual, is I'll go through the outline of the motion, and then I will invite the proposer up to introduce it. We will take questions to the proposer. Those must be relevant to the motion. We'll then accept speeches for and against the motion. As per the standing orders, we will finish the debate after 3 speeches for the same leaning are heard. So what that means, if we have 3 speeches in a row that are for a motion, it will then come to a vote. Equally, the same applies for against. So let me just get my slides here. So the first motion is motion 301, liberation officers shall be elected only by students who identify with each respective liberation community. If Lulu or Chirag would like to come and introduce this, that is absolutely fine. Either of you. Perfect. So if you could just keep it to about a minute, please.
Okay. This motion is about liberation officer only can cast a vote from the self-identified students, because the liberation officer play a championing role in the rights of marginalized student group, and due to the inclusive, real representation, empowerment, and accountability. So we should make sure liberation officers are elected directly by their community, ensuring they truly represent their peer voice. However, this not apply in the circumstances where the liberation officer is required to be elected at the student council.
Okay, lovely. Does anybody have a question for the proposer in regards to this motion? So this is just informative. Yes, Jonathan. Can we get a microphone, please? Thank you.
So, in terms of execution of it, how would you all get the required population to vote for that? So I'm just talking in terms of technicalities. How, for example, my position, ethnic diversity, how are you going to ensure that only ethnically diverse students are going to vote in it?
So currently we didn't have any thing can cast the people from that specific group, but we just encourage students self-identify they belong this group. Yeah.
Okay, any further questions for the proposer? Okay, lovely, you can sit down, Lulu. Okay, so we'll now take any speeches for this motion. Any speeches in favour of this motion, please raise your hand. Does anyone like to support this motion? Traditionally, the seconder would do that. Yeah, can we just have a microphone, please? Thank you. Yep.
So at the moment, we, just adding on to what Lou said, we don't expect anyone to, we're not going to collect any data if that's what you guys are thinking, but it's just, it would be better if the person or the liberation officer self-identifies and the people voting for them are also self-identified. So I think this is a great motion and it should pass.
Great, thank you, Chirag. Okay, I will ask, are there any speeches against this motion? Yep, there's one at the back. Can we get a microphone there, please? Could I just ask speakers to stand up, please? Just it makes it a bit easier for everyone to understand, if that's okay.
So in terms of having someone self-identify as LGBTQ, I think it might discourage closeted people or stealth transsexuals in voting. So it can be like daunting to tick a box that you're part of this community when you're not ready to come out as that yet. So that's why I'm against this motion.
Thank you very much. Any further speeches for the motion? Jonathan, you'd like to speak for the motion? Yeah.
I'm personally for this motion as a liberation
Jonathan,
officer.
could you just stand up, please?
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you.
sorry. As a liberation officer myself, I think when it comes to representing, especially in these liberation officer roles, it's about experience, it's about whatever personal challenges you face, it's about culture at the end of it. Voting is always it's a personal decision. So I'm not dismissing the possibility of what you mentioned, but I think if we keep voting to just you opening your phone, you think that I look at all these people who can best represent me, just put that option down as your vote. I think it works because at the end of the day, election is always a popularity contest. Trust me, I know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any further speeches against this motion? Please raise your hand if you have one. I'm not going to take second speeches at this time, but are there any other speeches against this motion from anyone who hasn't spoken already? Okay, I'm happy to accept another for speech if there is one. Any other for speeches? Okay. No, lovely. Okay, I'll invite Lulu to Lulu or Chirag. You guys can decide if you want to do some closing remarks. No, no, happy, good. Okay, right. We'll bring this to a vote. Then it is a constitutional motion, which means it requires something that is quite ominously called a supermajority. That just means 2/3 of council have to support it. So just to check, has everybody who should have a vote got access to the voting system now? Yep. Lovely. If you have any problems, please do raise your hand and someone will come and see you. Okay, we'll open this vote now, please. Okay, it should appear on your phones. Okay. Has everybody... Oh, is there a problem at the front there? Yeah? Okay. Has everybody who wants to cast a vote voted? You haven't? Okay, we'll just give it a second. Do you need any tech support? You just logged in? Okay, not to worry. We've currently got 42 out of 38 votes submitted, which is interesting. How many should there be? Okay. Kimiko, is that? Waiting for Chirag. Okay. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Has everybody who isn't a sabbatical officer voted? Lovely. Okay. Great. Okay, we will now close that vote. Okay, so I'm actually going to have to take some advice. Does what happens? That's don't do that. Okay. So can I have a bit of quiet, please, everyone? Hello. Okay. Unfortunately, that motion has not reached the 2/3 majority, so that has not passed. Okay, lovely. We'll now move on to the second constitutional motion, motion 302, changing individual clubs and societies' annual general meeting quoracy requirements. Kimiko, would you like to come and, or Alex, would you like to come and introduce this motion? You can do a speech for. Okay, about a minute, please, Kimiko.
Okay, currently the quoracy for individual clubs and societies, AGMs, is you need 15 votes or 25% of the members, whichever is greater. So But for example, if you've got like 16 members in your club or society, it's quite difficult to get all of them at the AGM to vote. So we'd like to reduce it from 15 or 25% to 10 or 25%. This will only really affect clubs with and societies with less than 60 members, but it would really help like the much smaller ones.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for the proposer? That's just factual information they would like about the motion. Okay, lovely. Right, thank you very much, Kimiko. I will invite any speeches in favour of this motion. Alex, yes. Hello. Okay, I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think it is working. It likes me. Well, we know how hard it is for smaller societies who might have less than 20 members to host elections and get everyone to vote, especially because we do AGMs at the end of the year. Sometimes you might not be able to get all your members to vote for them, and it is just hard to get people to do things sometimes. So we would love to make it easier for them to be able to continue on. That is all.
Delightful, thank you. Okay, any speeches against this motion? Please raise your hand nice and high if you have. No? Okay, any further speeches in favour? Yes, do you want to come up, Lucy? About a minute if you can.
I'm definitely in favour of this because as I was a president of a society last year, it was an absolute pain in my arse to do all the handover because we were such a small society. So this would just make everyone's lives so much more easier. And yeah, I just thought it's good to make everyone's life easier because we
Lovely.
don't want a long handover.
Thank you. Okay, I can accept one more speech in favour of this motion if anyone would like to. Yep, yourself at the back.
Will it work? Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to come to the front right now, but I was also part of a sports club. I was part of archery club last year, which is a very, very small sports club. I think it's one of the smallest ones that we have. And trying to get quorum for that's really hard. Archery takes a lot of logistics, and there's quite a lot of sports where there's a lot of equipment and moving of equipment. And if the club were to collapse even for a year, we'd not know what to do with all of our equipment and things like that. So I think it's very healthy to have this motion in place so that clubs can keep going. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will now invite the proposer or the seconder if you'd like to make any closing remarks. No? Do you want to come, Alex? Yeah.
Please make people's lives easier and vote for it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so similarly to the previous one, this is a constitutional motion. It requires a 2/3 supermajority. We will open the voting now. Like before, everyone, just to say, if you have any technical problems, please do raise your hand nice and high and someone will come and help you out. Okay, that looks good to me. Can I just check, can we have a bit quiet, please, guys? Can you please raise your hand now if you haven't cast a vote and you'd like to? Okay, wonderful. We'll close that vote. Technical issues, sorry guys. Just bear with us a second. Sorry guys, do just bear with us a second. Oh, marvellous. Okay guys, can we have a bit of quiet please? Lovely. So, unfortunately, the slide isn't working, but I have just been told that has passed with 100%. So, well done. Okay, lovely. So, final one of our constitutional motions, motion 303. Newcastle University Students' Union chair positions to be elected at the last student council of the year instead of through the student election. This was proposed by Chirag. Would you like to come and introduce the motion, please? Keep your speech to about a minute, please. Can we have some quiet, please, guys?
Right. So every year we have student union chair positions, chair of council and chair of scrutiny. And over the last few years, we've been really struggling hard to kind of fill those positions through the student elections. But the same people who are really passionate about these two positions usually show up in student council themselves. So I just feel that it is apt that the people who are the most passionate usually do show up in student council for these particular positions. As you can see, we have great people right here, George and Louis. So I think it's just a great way to kind of get that across and have power in the right people.
Lovely, thank you. Can you just stay there for a second? Any questions? Again, this is just factual questions. Yes. Can we get a microphone over to Tom there? It's for the recording, unfortunately.
How are you going to make sure that this doesn't reduce the number of people? Because this year you've had a very successful year with your chairs and with 3 applicants to the 2 positions. So how are you going to get it to, how are you going to make sure it doesn't reduce that?
Well, historically, student council, particularly chair positions, have been well sought after in council, and we kind of end up doing the same thing, basically through student council. So this just makes it in writing. It's not to kind of reduce positions, it's just to have power in the right people.
Okay, any other questions for the proposer? Yeah, I'll go for yourself and then we'll go across.
Do you have a contingency plan in place for if anyone has any extenuating circumstances that would exclude them from being able to come to the last student council session of the year? Because obviously the student elections are run over 50 hours. No one's expecting anyone running to be present for all of that. That would be ridiculous. So what do you have in place for people that would like to apply but say, well, you know, in a tragic accident on the day or any other reason that they couldn't attend council and would still want to apply? Because obviously being on Zoom would put you at a disadvantage versus someone that was here in person being able to deliver themselves as a candidate. Thank you.
To be honest, thank you. Again, the council is, if you're gonna participate through council, the whole point is that you get as many people as you can to support you. Whether it's done through Zoom or whether it's done through being in person, I don't think it affects it because you can actually get more people because the number of spaces open up to a lot more and people who are passionate do find a way. And with regards to personal extenuating circumstances, I believe that we'll find a way to kind of address that. Even if it's not through this motion, we'll find a way to address it by the next student council where it will actually come in place.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, we'll just have a point of order from...
Just on that, anyone who wants to put themselves forward for an election by student council can do that in advance, so just to make people aware of that.
Okay, great, thank you for that. Any further questions on this motion? I think there was one at the back there. Do you still want to ask that question?
It's already been partly answered
Already
by...
been answered? Did you have something to say? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It was already partly answered by if it was going to be noticed in advance or not. But is it going to be like the other... Can you hear me? Yeah. Is it going to be like the other officer positions where we don't really have time to say, like, gather people to vote for us, if that makes sense? So is it like at the student council meeting, that's when everyone makes their kind of motion why they should be voted for, and then we vote after that? Or can they make their plea beforehand?
Just like any officer positions, I believe this is how it will work. So, I mean, it's just in the order paper, so people will know when the election will take place, so they can always look into that. Yeah.
So just for clarity, elections at council, you'll see some later on, are basically as they have been in previous councils. They are votes done within that council meeting. That's just for information. Any other questions before we get on to speeches? Yes.
You mentioned before the shortcomings about advertising student council. Do you think this is going to decrease engagement if people don't see them, like, basically advertised during voting?
I don't believe so, because at the end of the day, it is to make sure that it gets out to all the student community, and yes, engagement is always hard, but we always find a way. I mean, we've been doing that for a while, so I think we can do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any final questions? Lovely. Okay, you can sit down. Thank you, Chirag. Okay, we'll now move for speeches on this motion. So, are there would anyone like to speak in favour of this motion? Please raise your hand nice and high if you do. Yes. Can we get a microphone, please? Whatever you want to do. About a minute, please.
Yeah, so as a person that votes in this council regularly, I think seeing someone take a chair role who's actively been part of the council was really promising, and just seeing how councils are run and how they run efficiently is actually a really good way of learning, firstly, for a new chair, and to be a part of it is going to make you transparent and obviously make you want to vote for them. So I think definitely having voting within council would be beneficial for those voting members.
Lovely, thank you. Would anyone like to speak against this motion? So, Lou, I saw you first. Do you want to come to the front, or would you like a mic?
I was actually elected in the final council of the year last year rather than within the student elections. That was primarily because it wasn't filled in the election, so I understand the need for it. However, I don't think any of the arguments in favour make that much sense. I think if someone's that committed they're going to council, why would they not run in student elections if they're that committed? And then additionally, that was my first council I ever went to, yet here I am. So I don't really think there's a need for it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And yeah, I don't think it's worth changing. I think it's just another layer of bureaucracy, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further speeches for the motion? Sorry? You can't speak for the motion. If you have a point of information, you can raise that, but is that what you want to do? Okay. Fine, yeah. So, point of information from Chirag.
Just saying that the last chair of council was elected in council because it wasn't filled in the elections, which kind of says that that's why the process is.
I was elected in the last council of last year, just for information. Okay. What were we on? We were speeches for. Any further speeches for the motion? Okay. Would anyone else like to speak against the motion? Yes, Tom.
I'd like to echo what Louis said. So I'm Chair of Scrutiny Elect, and I went through the elections this year, and that was why I got into it, because I saw it as part of the overall campaigning, and so it's bringing people in, and it's increasing people seeing stuff about council, because I know a lot of people that I've spoken to now know about student council because of people running for it. So I believe that it should continue to be part of the elections.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, does anybody have an absolutely desperate point to make, because we are really tight on time here? Okay, lovely. So we'll take this one to a vote. Similarly with the previous two, this will require a 2/3 supermajority. We will open the voting now. Okay, could I please ask anybody who hasn't voted, who would like to vote, could you please raise your hand if you haven't been able to cast a vote yet? Okay, marvellous. We'll bring this one to a close. Okay, so that motion has not passed. Okay, lovely. So now we move on to the ordinary motions. So these, unlike the constitutional motions, require a 50% majority to pass a simple majority. The first one, motion 401, is 50% plant-based options by 2025. Who is the proposer? Is there Ella Spray in the room? Yeah, would you like to come up and propose that? So if you could keep your speech to about a minute, please. 1 minute, please, yes.
So Newcastle Uni declared a climate emergency in 2019. Animal agriculture is one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. It's about 18% of total greenhouse gas emissions. Transport's only 13%. Even if we completely eliminated fossil fuels, we wouldn't stay within the 1.5-degree Paris Climate Agreement while animal agriculture continues. Plant-based unis is active in over 80 universities across the UK and abroad, with 11 other students' unions passing a similar motion. We are in no way asking that everyone goes plant-based at the university, only that NUSU events start to become 50% plant-based, and a campaign group is set up to lobby the university to start to transition their events as well. And the
10 seconds, please.
Sustainability plan is amended to include plant-based food systems as a solution to the climate crisis.
Delightful, thank you. Okay, are there any questions to the proposer about the content of this motion? Jonathan, can we have a microphone, please?
Hi, Ella. The fourth point of council beliefs argues that plant-based diets is more affordable in high-income countries. However, in the same section, point 2 says that youths had limited financial power to make sustainable swaps. So are these 2 points antithetical to each other?
Yeah, so I believe the
Sorry, could I just ask members to... can we just have some quiet in council, please, just while the proposer is speaking? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that refers to students have limited financial power, so they can struggle to make decisions quickly about which food sources to eat. But in general, the study found that plant-based food sources are cheaper. So the motion's about the institutional responsibility of NUSU. So NUSU as an institution can choose these cheaper meals and get more time put into it. But yeah, busy students...
Sorry, no follow-up questions on this because I've got to get this moving. Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry? You can't have, you're not having a second question just until we've gone around because we just have to move on. Yes, we've got a question there. Lovely, thank you.
This is a question just purely of curiosity. Is this something that's enforced, or is it something that's suggested, for individual events that are run either by NUSU or the university? Is this something that's going to be enforced, or is it going to be something that's encouraged, or there are going to be more options given? I'm just a bit confused about the sort of construct of it.
Yeah, so the wording that steering came back with is 50% of events will be plant-based. So that's kind of up for the uni to determine, I believe. But the formation of a campaign group headed by the President and Environment Ethics Officer, hopefully next year, could work with the uni on that.
Lovely, thank you. Can I just ask if we've got any absolutely pressing questions that haven't been asked yet? Great. Okay, thank you very much. You can... Oh. I'm not going to give you a second question. I'm sorry, Jonathan. It is within the standing orders that... If you can ask it in 30 seconds, you can ask a question. Okay.
All right, so in your committee training slides, it says that PBU is a international and student-led movement. However, on the website, it's only movement only in Europe and 2 universities in North America. So as any diversity officer, I do have to ask, does this also represent the interests of students from Africa, Asia, or Australia, South America continents?
Yeah, so at the moment, the campaign group was founded in the UK, which is why it's kind of organised like that. So the campaign itself, so NUSU would endorse the campaign, but that campaign itself is run separately from what's in the Students' Union. We actually completed a survey of the student population and found that 95%, only 200 people were surveyed, but 95% of them would like more sustainable food on campus.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Thank you very much. You can sit back down. Okay, so any speeches in favour of this motion? you're seconding. You can have a question. We'll then I'll come back to you. Okay. Yeah.
I promise I'm going to be quick. Right, so this is only 50% of options to be plant-based. I'm not vegan or plant-based myself, but I think it's a good idea because it would help us be more sustainable. Like, I'm on the sustainability campaign. We're trying to do things better. It would help us be more sustainable. It would offer better food options. More food would be halal. More food would be, allergen-free in some cases, I guess. But it would just open it up, it would give more options. It would give cheaper options, especially considering uni meal deals are like £7 sometimes. So I just think it would be good. And it would help our carbon footprint and help us get a little bit closer to net zero because we love the planet.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Any speeches against this motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Please raise your hand. Lovely. And I'll take one final speech from yourself.
Okay, as a student and a NUSU employee who's incredibly concerned about climate change, I fully support this motion. We've all seen that the university constantly brags about how they're in the top 5 for sustainability, as if getting this kind of accreditation is enough and they can stop there. But there's actually nothing about food systems in the NUSU sustainability plan currently, and the UN agrees that plant-based diets can contribute to mitigating climate change. Fighting climate change is not something you can do slowly with like tiny, cautious steps like promoting veganuary. It needs large institutions like universities to make big commitments like this. It's clear that this motion is entirely in line with what the university wants to achieve. It doesn't make a huge difference to the lifestyles of individual students, but it would be a really powerful statement from NUSU to say that they're dedicated to being more environmentally sustainable through food systems.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay. Would the proposer or the seconder like to make a closing speech, or should we get going with the vote? No, you're happy? Okay, right, we'll take this to a vote. It's a simple 50% majority. The vote will open now. Okay, could I ask anybody who wants to... Sorry, guys, a bit quiet, please. Could I ask anybody... Has anybody who wants to cast a vote not been able to cast one? Marvellous. Okay, we'll close that ballot there. Lovely. Okay, so motion 401 has passed. Lovely. Okay. What we will do now is... okay. So motion 402 is NUSU to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. This was proposed by Jonathan Lee. Would you like to come and introduce this motion, please? Keep your speech to about a minute if you can.
Salam, shalom, peace be with you all. Every day, innocent civilians in Gaza are dying in the fighting and struggling, constantly hovering on the brink of death. As ethnic diversity officer and part of a larger team of student representatives, we recognize and mourn the lives lost on both sides of the conflict, whether it is Palestinian or Israeli, Jewish or Muslim. Calling for a ceasefire should not be a matter of debate, but rather an obligation. By calling for a ceasefire, we are asking for a solution that leads to peace in the region. We are also acknowledging the distress faced by students directly or indirectly impacted by the conflict. It is also not a controversial matter. By doing so, we join our voice with 120 members of the UN Security Council, the World Health Organization, and the Universities and College Union. By passing this motion, the SU will also be able to play a key role in the local community by lobbying the university to also call for a ceasefire and seek accountability from MPs in the region.
Last few seconds, please, Jonathan.
The spirit of Ramadan emphasizes love, sacrifice, devotion, forgiveness, and care. I hope that we in unison can see this motion through and show our empathy to all those impacted. Thank you.
Jonathan, could you stay there for a second for me, please? Is everything okay? Cool. Okay, guys. So any questions about this motion? Please do try and sort of bear in mind that we're going to move on to speeches for and against. So you'll have an opportunity to make sort of novel points. These are strictly questions just about the content of this motion. So I think yourself at the back, and then yourself in front.
I just want to make the point that since we are making this motion on the level of university, and we are calling for a ceasefire, we should also always condition that with the call for the university to stop making fire, because
that is later. That is a separate motion.
Sorry, it has to be a motion, a question about the contents of this.
Yeah. So how can you accommodate that in your motion?
That is already a separate motion that are coming in, but the thing is that it falls under quite a separate thing for this. I think the focus of it here, if you look at all the three resolves that we have written in this motion, it specifically talks about ceasefire. So it's very focused on this topic.
Just 1 second. So what did you want, a point of information? Okay. Ever so quickly, but yes.
So for motions that go to council, it is more likely to be passed, and it's better for us if it has a specific resolution that it's seeking, and it's easier for the sabbatical officers to lobby for it and to enact it if it has one specific resolution. So if it were focused on two different things, we would likely be encouraged to split the motion down. So the motion being in the format that it is helps it get through, I guess, in an easier way, and it helps us aim for something solid to do. So that's why the motion's formatted in this way.
Lovely, thank you. There was one more question, I believe. Yeah.
It was literally just a clarifying point. So when, like, if NUSU was to call for a ceasefire, how would they do it? Would it be like one Instagram post, or would it like
official statement?
So this would be coming through an official statement from the Students' Union and from the sabbatical officers, and then this motion also includes for the sabbatical officers to be lobbying the university for the university to call for ceasefire, as well as writing to our MPs to lobby them to call for ceasefire.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be taking follow-up questions. I will accept a question from you at the front here.
Honestly, it's just a point of information. What exactly does it mean to lobby the university from the point of view of the SU as a charity organisation? What is that? What can you do?
We can have a point of information.
So this would basically mean that when we go to the university and we ask for them to put out a statement to call for ceasefire, that we would have the backing of student council. So we'd say students have put a motion through council that says that, you know, they've mandated the officers, so they've made it part of our job that we have to go and ask the university to put out a statement for ceasefire. Because if we go now as sabbatical officers, we don't have a student support, like we don't have solid student support, we don't have backing, and when we go to the university, it's difficult for them to enact what we ask them to do if we don't have the support of the Students' Union, which is you guys.
Thank you, Alex. Could I just, any other questions, stuff that hasn't already been asked, ideally? Magic, okay. Thank you, Jonathan, you're welcome to sit down. Okay, we will now accept any speeches for this motion, in favour of this motion. Louis, do you want to come forward? Or you do it from there, that's fine, yeah.
If you're even thinking about voting against this, I think you need to have a look in the mirror. Because if you vote against this, you're not a human, you're an animal. And I swear to God, your time will come, karma will come.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. That's out of order for council business. That you're not able to reference any other members of council. That is explicitly against the standing orders. So I am sorry. That is out of order. Okay. So Alex, because you're seconding the motion, would you like to speak? Well, actually, just 1 second. As a formality, I do have to ask: would anyone like to speak against this motion? Okay, lovely, Alex. Feel free.
So yes, as a sabbatical officer, it has been difficult the past few months to be able, like, for us to be able to take action, especially having heard student concerns. So by pushing this motion through, this gives us like what we need to be able to call for what the students want. Especially the part about writing to MPs will give us the chance to really lobby both the university and our local governments to be able to do something about the situation that I know all of us, I'm hoping all of us care about, and that I know has been very difficult on some students. And I mean, like Louis said, you can't not vote for it.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, I will accept one more speech in favour of this motion. Yes.
I mean, I know the council doesn't take kindly to others potentially being referred to as animals, but we need to remember that the Prime Minister has referred to Palestinians as human animals. So remember, when you're voting for a ceasefire, you're voting for those people to get a voice and to have basic human rights and not be killed for existing. That's all.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, everyone. I'll invite a closing speech from the proposer or the seconder if you would like. Yeah, okay, fine. Great, so we'll take this to a vote. It is a simple 50% majority, so the vote will open now. So I can't see the count because of the banner thing. Okay. That's great. Okay, can I just ask anybody who hasn't voted who wants to, please raise your hand. Was that someone? Yeah, okay. Do you need some technical help? You good? Has everybody voted? Yeah, do you need a bit of help there? Okay, please raise your hand and keep it up if you need some help with the voting system. Can I just check, has everybody else been able to vote? Yes? Okay, good. We'll just wait for this to be resolved and then we'll move on. Is everything okay at the back there? Sorry guys, do bear with us. Is everything, sorry guys, everything all right? I'm gonna say something after this motion. This is ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you. Okay. How are we looking at the back? Okay. Be quicker to use a ballot box, wouldn't it? Be quicker to use a ballot box. Well, there is a provision in the standing orders for parliamentary style ayes and nays. Divisions and clearing lobbies. from the floor on whether we want to just power through it or whether or how we're going to go about it, because I don't want to. I don't want to stop people from. I'm just going to mention it. I don't want to stop people from leaving if they need to do their thing. Okay, right, magic. Go and sort that nice and quickly. Yeah. Okay. George, I wonder if you know more than me. Obviously, we're coming up to 10 past, which is when people need to break their fast. I was considering just sort of a casual show of hands from the room whether people just want to power through or whether we want to take an adjournment. What's the provision there? Do you want me to, is that fair? I know I'm able to make an adjournment as one of the standing order things, but do you think that's right?
George!
I don't want to...
George! We've got it!
Okay, lovely. Guys, can we have some quiet, please? Is that okay with you then? I'll get a casual view. Okay, thank you. So after all that suspense, we'll now close this vote. Okay, lovely. So this motion number 402, I believe? Yes, 402 has passed. Lovely. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So at this stage, what I'm going to do is just take a very brief pause and try and sort of gauge the opinions of the room. I am well aware that some people will have to break their fast in about 2 minutes, and I also don't want that to artificially cut short the final motion to be debated tonight. So the options we have are powering through and just getting through the final motions and the elections, or I can seek some advice on whether we can adjourn and come back after some time. But I just sort of want to see what people think. So does anyone have a view on that? Yeah, just speak up. This isn't. You'd like to adjourn, Louis? That entirely depends on how long it takes. Forgive me, I don't know. So if we adjourn for 5 minutes, is everybody okay with that? Is that, and you don't need to pray or anything, because I was told that might be a possibility. Okay, so is everybody in the room happy that we do that? Okay, lovely. Okay, just bear with me a second while I seek a little bit of advice. Sorry, yeah? Yes. Well, guillotine is at 6:30. I am able to extend the guillotine if the consensus is that is what people would like me to do. But that would have to go to a vote. So can I just, guys, can we just have some quiet, because I need to sort this out. Can I just see a show of hands if people would prefer to adjourn for 15-20 minutes and extend the guillotine? Is the guillotine paused? Yes. Okay, so I can just adjourn. You can just adjourn for 15 minutes. And that would. Yep, guys. So. Okay. In that case, under Standing Order 33, Section D, we will adjourn the meeting until past.
Yes. I'd just like to let everyone know that.
Guys, can we just. Guys, just Yassine has a little announcement regarding.
I'd just like everyone to know we've got some dates there, some water there, and we've got a prayer space in the Lindisfarne room until about 6:40, 6:45, so we'll need to be out ASAP.
Great. So guys, I will be starting council at past on the dot. Please make sure you're back. Lucy, here's if we do the elections now and then do that motion. Yeah. Is that okay with the slides and everything? Yeah. Fab. Hi everyone. Okay, we're going to make a start. So can we have a bit of quiet, please? Guys, hello. Thank you very much. Okay, so I've just had a request from the proposer of the final for today that we give him a little bit of time to have his dinner. So what I'm going to do is... where are we at? Sorry, 1 second. So under Standard Order 33 Section E, I'm going to do the elections for positions selected by Student Council now, and we'll come back to that motion afterwards just to give Louis time to finish his pizza. With that said, we have some positions to executive committees that we need to fill today. Well, we don't need to, but we'd like to fill today. So the committees in question are basically different meetings within NUSU. They're usually chaired by an officer, and they just dictate various different parts. So, given that the first one on the list is disciplinary, and that is also Louis, what I'm going to do is go to Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Executive. We have 2 places available for that, and I'll just invite Lucy to quickly give a brief overview of what that committee does. And just to say as well, the guillotine is now 7, so we have half an hour. Lucy, do you want to come and just say a few words?
I feel like I've come up here like so many times in council, but the Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Exec is something that I chair, and our staff support Kiara, who's the Accessibility and Inclusion Coordinator, works with me on this. So essentially the committee is just made up of myself, Kiara, and then the Liberation officers, and then a rep from Nightline, and as well as other students, and it's just kind of all of us to get updates, and the students to hear what we're doing as like me as welfare, and what Nightline are doing, and Liberation officers really keeping us accountable to what we're doing, but also kind of discussing any campaign ideas we want to bring to any of the campaign priority groups. Just any questions that any students have or Liberation officers have to me. It's generally like really informal. It's just a really great like safe space where we can all kind of discuss campaign ideas and keeping me accountable to the work I do.
Thank you, Lucy. Does anyone have any quick questions about that committee? Great. Okay. So as I say, we have 2 places available. So if we have 2 or fewer nominations, they will be, unless they're objected to, they will get the places. If we have more, we'll go to a vote. So if anybody would like to put themselves forward for a place on the Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Executive Committee, please do come to the front now and see Anita, if you'd like to nominate yourself. So would anybody like to come forward for that committee? Okay, lovely. Anybody else do come forward? So just to be clear, this nomination is only for a position on the committee for this academic year. There will be fresh nominations in the next academic year. Okay, any final nominations? Looks like you might be getting a full committee, Lucy. Do you just want to come up behind the left hand for me? Thank you. Okay, could you just tell us who you are, what you study, and why you want to be on the committee?
I'm Oliver Alchlik. I am studying linguistics, and I'd like to be more involved with the welfare at the university, especially as a trans student. I feel like I have valuable input that is currently missing, and I'd like to be more involved.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Who was the other nomination, sorry? Yeah. Could you just stay at the front just for a second? Just want to, same thing, who you are, what you study, and why you want to be on the committee.
My name's Joseph White. I'm a second-year politics student in GPS, and I don't know, I just think it's really, I'm queer and I'm disabled, so I just think it's really important. I have a lot of thoughts about that at the uni, so I just think it's important to, I don't know, be on the committee for that. So, yeah, slay.
So does anybody object to either of these members joining the respective committees? I think technology has given out on us today. Raise your hand if you have an objection, please. Okay, lovely. So both members are duly elected to... Great stuff. Louis, are you in a position to come forward now? So just while we're on voting, I'll get you to just introduce disciplinary committee. We've got 4 places for that.
So the disciplinary committee chairs disciplinaries against the SABs. We've not sat this academic year, and join that's not really time straining or consuming in the slightest. So
Thank you. Just for let's do that first. Okay, 4 places on disciplinary committee. Does anyone have any questions about that committee? Just given up. Any questions about disciplinary committee for Louis? Okay. Any nominations, please do come to the front. Give your name to Anita. And just bear in mind, officers and chairs other than Louis are not allowed to serve on this committee. Okay. Any final nominations? Lovely. Any? Can I just get you to come to the front, person who has just nominated themselves? Sorry, I don't know your name. Great. So who you are, what do you study, and why do you want to be on the committee?
My name's Hafsa Niaz. I study biomedical sciences, which is not at all related to disciplinary. But as you can tell, I'm very vocal about what I think, and I think it's very important to hold people accountable. And I think it's very important to remain transparent with our sabbatical team as we have elected them in. And I'm happy to critique people. So that's why I think I should be up for it.
Thank you very much. Okay, lovely. Does anybody object to this member being appointed to disciplinary committee? Great. So the member is duly appointed. Okay, finally, we'll hear again from the lovely Louis. Scrutiny, please. 2 places available.
The scrutiny committee does sit once or twice a month, and it is actually really important. We essentially scrutinise the weekly ops meetings that the SABs and directors go to, and if you look at my report, you'll see that can include anything from like, oh, actually, I can't say, but our meetings are normally once a month for about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how much we get through. We've all become really good friends, and it is really worth it. So, yeah, especially if you're from a marginalised background, please try come forth if you can.
Great, thank you. Any, just wait there for a second. Any questions about that committee? You can have a clap if you want to, that's fine. Great, so any questions about scrutiny committee for Louis? Yeah?
1 to 2 hours a month.
Great. Any other questions? Lovely. Okay, so we have, you're welcome to sit down, Louis, thank you. We've got 2 places available. Again, that does not apply to officers and chairs other than Louis. If you'd like to nominate yourself, please come to the front and see Anita.
Hi, I'm Isla, ID Medicine. I enjoy looking at how individual actions affect things systemically. It's a hobby, so wouldn't mind doing it as a job as well. Yeah.
Oh, what did you? Oh, sure.
Okay, so have we got any final nominations for scrutiny? Okay, great. Any objections to either of these members being appointed? Fantastic. So both members are duly appointed. Now, I have just been told that there may be some additional interest for disciplinary committee. Is that right? Would anybody like to nominate themselves? You can be on both. Yeah. How many places did we fill? 1. We filled 1. Yeah. Okay, fine, yeah.
Do I need to
Yeah, why do you want to be on the committee?
Hi, I'm Hadia. I do medicine. I'm not entirely sure what both of these committees do, but I am passionate and have opinions, and I'm happy to spend time on both.
Marvellous, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else want to nominate themselves quickly? No? Lovely, okay. Any objections? Good stuff, duly appointed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, okay, so we'll now rewind a little bit, and we'll go to ordinary motion number 403, which is, bear it with me, sorry. NUSU to lobby Newcastle University to ensure that the university does not engage in any research activities that could be used for offensive purposes rather than defensive purposes within the military sector. I would like to invite Louis to come and propose this motion. If you could try and keep it within, let's see, a minute, please. That'd be great.
I definitely won't be able to get it done within a minute. I could try 2 minutes.
Let's go for 2.
Thank you. Sorry, give me 1 second. As of today, at 8:40 a.m., at least 31,341 people have been murdered. 12,300 children, a greater total than all children murdered in all the international conflicts in the last 5 years. More than 73,134 people have been injured, including 8,663 children, and more than 8,000 people are currently missing. 4 months versus 4 years. Gaza is the only place in the world where an apartheid state has a license to kill anything that moves, where civilians are collecting the remains of other civilians obliterated at the hands of an ideology that doesn't distinguish innocence. We all know about the atrocities of the 7th of October, but my real question is, why does no one know about before October the 7th? This is nothing new for the people of Palestine. Only in Gaza will children run to collect flour bags, only to return in body bags. This motion is for NUSU to lobby the university to cease all research projects that involves offensive arms research. This means any research that contributes to weapons, armaments, or otherwise that cannot be used for defence purposes. This is not by any means the ideal motion that we have been working tirelessly for. We successfully submitted this motion within the deadline, yet on Tuesday we're given only 2 hours to amend this motion. And another motion. As NUSU only decided to get legal advice the day before, we were purposely set up by being given only 2 hours to amend these, and it follows a repeated pattern of suppression of anti-genocidal voices on campus. This motion was meant to be to cease all military research partnerships, all, yet we were given 2 hours to change the entire thing. 2 hours to change a ceasefire, not a ceasefire, a motion which had been worked on tirelessly since December.
20 seconds, please.
For a statement to be released by NUSU describing a plausible genocide in Gaza as an ongoing event in the Middle East is deplorable. Look at the difference in statements about the war in Ukraine versus the genocide in Palestine. What is the difference between a higher death toll? The colour of the innocent people's skin. Racism has been shown, and there is no two ways about it. If we were to put a motion in about research with Russia, this would not have happened, I can assure you, and I'm sure you all know that.
Sorry, Lou, that's...
This combined with the motion has proved that the student union is nothing but a marketing tool for the university,
Louis, I'm
and
sorry.
really is not a union for students. I hold my head in shame and can only take these actions in one way.
Louis,
Suppression of pro-Palestinian efforts is to be pro-genocide, pro-apartheid, and anti-international law.
Louis, it's not
Why
fair
can we
for
not
some
get our student
speakers-
union to lobby our
Stop,
university
please.
to not have military research partnerships, especially in the face of a genocide? Diplomacy has been tried, protests have been tried, yet NUSU has failed us once again.
I'd like to point out to all members that it's not fair for certain motions to have more time to discuss than others. This is meant to be a democratic process, and all discussions are supposed to be equal. I would really ask that you please respect that. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, I'll now take... You can have a quick point of information, yeah.
If you guys are really dissatisfied with our services, you can put in a vote of no confidence to remove sabbatical officers.
Can I just check, are there any questions about the motion itself before we move on to speeches? Any questions? There's one at the back. Louis, did you want to answer that from the front, or do you want a microphone?
Yeah, microphone.
Okay. Have we got a second microphone just for the... Yeah, okay, we'll sort that out. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So as we know, one of the main problems with university connection with Leonardo has been the very shady connection that they actually have, as in what Leonardo is actually working on in the city and the investments that they have. How will this motion move to differentiate between offensive and defensive?
Given
If not, just speak loudly.
I wish I could have an answer, to be honest. I'm not on the motion. I think there's no wrong other way to it. And if the motion is treated fairly like all other motions are, then maybe I'll have an answer for you, but I don't.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions for the proposer? Is that a question for the proposer? Yeah.
I'll just speak.
Okay.
Why is it that this caveat of differentiate between offensive and defensive weapons has been put in the motion when that was not what the original proposition of the motion entailed?
Yeah, I would call on George or Chirag to answer that, as they were the ones who told me that I couldn't include that, so I'm sure they can enlighten me more.
Would anybody like to have a point of information? George, do you want Chirag, are you happy to? Yeah, sure.
With our meetings with the university, they said that there's something called as the researchers' freedom of research or something similar to that law, which basically means that we can't tell them what exactly they can or they can't research. Yes, I understand you guys are quite dissatisfied with that particular wording, but that's the way that I thought would, or in this case, probably not require legal advice, so that we could get this motion as soon as possible into council. And yeah, basically, we can't dictate someone's research views, essentially, and that would be liable for, again, legal action.
Okay, great. So just to check, these are questions about the motion itself. You can sit down, Chirag, that's fine. So did you have one there? And then...
I didn't really get why it only took 2 days before. Like, you could have said, you had like a long time to say this needs like legal,
just to...
why did you only wait like 2 days?
Am I right in thinking the advice came before, but it was asked for straight away? Do you want to clarify?
The advice was asked for on the Monday after the motion was submitted, so within 1 working day.
Is that a... So can I just check? You can ask points of information, that's fine, but we need to differentiate them. So is that a point of information at the back or a question about the motion? Which one? Did you want to clarify something with the team here, or was it a question to Louis about the motion?
No, it's a question.
A question to Chirag. Okay, so that's a point of information. So if you'd like to ask that, that's fine. You're welcome to ask the question. You'll just have to. I think we're having a bit of technical trouble. So.
So basically, the recent statement made by Chirag, I don't know if it has any meaning at all, because my own research in Gaza has been cancelled by the university in 2021. I'm not the only one who was trying to do research in Gaza, and who was cancelled, basically censored by the university itself. Also, I don't know why the student union continuously tries to take the position of protecting the university, and how those people in the university try to...
I'm sorry, could you be quite clear about the question? It has to be a question, it can't just be a statement. So,
how does academic information and freedom work while people are being censored when they're trying to do research in Gaza and Palestine?
does anyone want to clarify on that point of information?
Sorry? Can you repeat that? Okay. You mentioned that the university cannot interfere with military research because of academic freedom, right? How can they then interfere in research that does not involve anything related to military? And
cancelled when it comes to Gaza. Can I just stand here and say it?
Yes.
Or do I need to go there?
No, you can stand there. It's fine.
I can only go off what I've been told. Again, I am not a PGR. I don't know enough to kind of do this. But again, in terms of just legal protection and making sure that this motion came through, I just thought it would be the fastest way. And just to protect from any legal situation, just wanted to make sure this motion came through. And that's why the wording is as such. That's why if you could, read it really, you would understand why. Again, if you need any more information, I can go back to the committee and ask them what exactly that law is, and then I can send it to you guys, and then you can think about how you can go on.
Thank you very much. So can I just check the hands up? Are they points of information or what? Okay, so you were first at the front.
Yeah, so just to make it clear, it was the university that told you that there's a legal problem with this motion being put through.
Not the motion, the academic research freedom, whatever that is.
And it was people in the university, not the students' union, that told you this.
That if that wording is used, then it is liable for legal. It is not about whether the university focus, it's about the wording, whether it's legal or
Who is liable?
the union will be liable, legally, the union will be liable.
As a whole institution.
As a whole, the union itself will be liable.
I suspect, given the questions on this and that it's obviously some sensitive legal discussions, I wonder if NUSU might be able to provide a bit of context retrospectively in writing. Do you think that could happen? Yeah. Yeah. Just to clarify all these questions, because I'm conscious that none of the sabbatical officers here are lawyers or lawyers yet. So it might be worth just sending some written legal insight after the fact, if that's okay with everyone. Yeah.
What I could do is I'll put my email address when the next email from Anita comes out around the council. If anyone's got any questions about that, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so can we just check, are there any further questions to Louis about the content of the motion before we move to speeches? Okay, lovely. So I'm conscious we've got about 7 minutes to get this voted through before guillotine, so I'll try and limit these as much as I can to about a minute, so please do respect that because we need to get it voted on. Are there any speeches in favour of this motion? Would anybody like to speak in favour of it? Yes, would you like to, I don't know if we're having much luck with the mics. We'll give it a go.
Okay, that's fine, I can be loud. So, when I was upstairs and I watched people pray, I thought about the people in Gaza that don't have that liberty. They are praying on the rubbles of their mosques. We are trying to voice concern for them, although we were censored by the student union because we couldn't really talk about Gaza. We couldn't really talk about Israel in this motion. But I would like to highlight that our university has played a role in Gaza in the past. In 2009, they were investing in one of the sole providers of white phosphorus to the USA, as mentioned in the Student Union Council notes over there. And as we know, it is affecting innocent civilians. I think it is very sensible where we go from here. It's very obvious. We know that this is not the motion that we wrote. We know that this is not the motion that we had worked tirelessly towards, but rest assured that this won't be the first one or the last one. We will keep lobbying the student union to make sure they hear our voices and amplify our voices to the university. So don't be in despair. This is not the first, this is not the last, and we will keep at it.
Thank you very much. Okay. I do have to ask, are there any speeches against this motion? You'd like to speak against? Yeah. Okay. A minute, please.
To make it clear, I am not here to speak against the motion in the sense of that I do not wish people to vote for it. I would rather employ some healthy criticism against the motion being proposed here, because I believe that what we are seeing is effectively giving the university an excuse to continue weapons development by creating a distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. There is no such distinction. All weapons, manufacture of making more weapons always makes more war. We always have to understand this. I'm very happy that we're putting this forward and that we're planning on amending this motion further in order to make changes, but it's clear to see how the British law is affecting our ability to try and cut our ties and remove the blood from our hands of this ongoing genocide. We must understand that it's under British law that this genocide is legal. Under British law. And so by following British law, following this, it is clearly impossible for us to effectively cut our ties with this genocide, with the production of weapons being used in this genocide. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Given the time constraints, I'm going to take one further speech. I will take two further speeches in whichever direction they come up. So, you got your hand up? Would you like to speak for the motion? Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you just speak up, please.
Yeah, I'm just going to be. I'm not going to repeat what's been said already. I'm just going to try and be brief. So we know a motion about Palestine was put in December, and it's only now coming to council. I understand all the delays are just due to kind of procedure and stuff. And my gripe isn't with any individual member of council. I know the people working in admin roles are kind of constrained by their job description and what's legally possible. But, you know, we've got to remember that we're all students here, and we're basically all batting on the same team. You know, this motion to lobby the university. The one person we would actually all be lobbying isn't even here. Instead, we have a photo of him. So I think.
And I had to print it out. You're welcome.
It was always obvious there would be one or at least several motions on Palestine from the get-go this academic year. So I think in the future, once we've noticed that a motion is time-sensitive, just sensitive generally, is absolutely going to happen and concerns vulnerable students, and you know will need work. I think there needs to be more information about the students about how they engage with the students' union and what is possible. Because you know, engagement.
Just a couple of seconds, if you can, please. Was that your point?
That's basically.
Okay, thank you.
Be a target for
So I will open up for one more speech in either direction before we put it to a vote. Anyone else like to speak? Yes. Would you like to speak for or against? For. Okay, great.
I'll just try and speak loud. I just wanted to say on behalf of all students and a lot of people who didn't have time to be here today that we don't want to stand for degree certificates that are stained with blood. And this isn't a full motion, clearly, and we've heard the points, and this is, you know, just another example of the uni censoring pro-Palestine voices, which we've seen time and time again. I've attended protests on campus, and there has been a deliberate attempt to intimidate students through use of police and security, and this has been an absolute violation of our trust. And the amount of money that we have sunk into this degree that now doesn't feel like it's worth the paper it's written on if it is from a university that stands for genocide. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that
Thank you.
on behalf of students, we don't want our university invested in genocide.
Great.
Because you said
Okay. We have 1 minute to vote for this, so Louis, it is your right to speak here if you want to offer a closing argument, but I must say that we have to stick to the guillotine, so quick as you can.
Firstly, I'd like to say I really echo what Carol said. It is really true, but I would urge everyone to vote against it so it makes it easier for us to amend it in the near future in the May Council. Huh? Oh, 4, sorry, I meant 4. Oh, sorry. It would make sense to vote against, and that's what I was thinking originally. I was going to get up here and say vote against, but after deliberation, I think vote it in and we can amend it. But lastly, I would just like to... On October the 7th, 3 journalists were murdered. On October the 4th, 1 journalist. On October the 10th, 3. On October the 8th, 1. On October the 9th, 1. On October the 13th, 2. On October the 14th, 1. On October the 16th, 1. October the 17th, 2. October the 18th, 1. October the 19th, 1. October 20, 1. The list goes on.
10 seconds, please.
That is only the journalists murdered in Gaza. And they're not just numbers. And it pains me that I can read them out just like numbers. But these are the people we should be thinking of when we're voting on motions like these, because it has a massive impact.
Thank you. Okay, so very quickly, this is an ordinary motion. It needs a 50% majority, a simple majority. Motion 403 will now open the voting. Has anybody been unable to cast a vote? Okay, has everybody who wants to vote been able to? Wonderful. Okay, we'll close that vote now. Okay, lovely. So motion 403 is passed. So very quickly, because we are over guillotine now, we have already completed the elections. We did not receive a topic for an open debate, so there will not be one today. What I will do, because we're over guillotine, is I will now close council, but I will invite student notices once I've done that. So we'll now bring council to a close. Thank you, everyone. If anybody has a student notice, feel absolutely free to come to the front and give that.